Warm welcome back for the second half. I did think you'd rejoin us. A massive half-time talk, Jack Charlton style we've had here from Terry Curran. Poor old Andy Giddings over in there. He's had his well. You've had more listening to do than
think we're on the. I think we're on the same page.
I think I've had to listen to Andy really.
Oh, right.
We've been toing and froing.
Yeah,
we're on the same page. I think.
This is over coaching and what's wrong with the game. Hey, sorry, what grumpy old men. To alleviate that situation, James Gregg.
We've got a grumpy, youngish bloke now.
Grumpy young git. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Can I say that?
I think you can.
Just about, yeah. We'll come to you for everything else. It's a busy time in sport as ever, it always is. Just before we do that, I've just got to say these words. Doncaster Rovers, Nottingham Forest, Derby County, Southampton, Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United, Everton, Huddersfield, Hull, Sunderland, Grimsby and Chesterfield. Is that it?
I've not played for any of them.
None of them we, have we?
That's about it.
Is that about right? And Paul Fisher, who does matches on Spy Rights for you at Radio Sheffield, tweeted just before the show to say that when Terry made his final league appearances, his solitary appearance for the Spy Rights in 1987, he's the only Chesterfield player who's been booed by both sets of supporters, right?
Every ground away from home, Alan, I got booed at. Right. Everyone.
Every single... yeah, but hang on. I think this was a home game and Chesterfield fans booed it. And I'll tell you for why as well.
You know as much as I do because obviously I was a Sheffield Wednesday fan.
Yeah, well, not just that, but in 1980, you see, you've got a history. In 1980, Jack's team, you got promoted at the expense of our team, didn't you?
Chesterfield.
Had a fine team then around that era, 79, 80.
Bill Green and one or two more.
Correct.
Players. Yeah, that's right.
Alan Birch and Phil Walker, Ernie Moss.
Some good players, yeah.
Bonnyman, I'm just trying to remember all of them who played at Danny Wilson, actually.
Yes, Danny was
there. 3-3 draw at Hillsborough against your team.
Lucky 3-3 draw. I think it was that one.
No, it wasn't. No, you were lucky. I remember I covered that game. And the other thing was, according to one of my followers on Twitter, you are alleged to have said at the time that Chesterfield didn't deserve to get promoted. Anyway.
I said some things in my time, but
you certainly did.
I cannot remember that. But
neither can I, strangely enough.
But I think we got promoted as the third team to go up. So if Chesterfield didn't get up, then we deserved to get promoted to Sheffield Wednesday.
Chesterfield played a lot better football. I know good football's a sort of a point that what is good football, but they played smoother, more flowing football than Sheffield Wednesday did in that era.
They did. I mean, we were direct, and I would argue with Jack Charlton about being direct. Yeah. And everybody argues about what type of football. But Barcelona seemed to win more, and Real Madrid seemed to win more, and Bayern Munich seemed to win more than other teams by playing flowing football.
They do, and this is where we're going to come on to the main theme and what our FA is doing about it in terms of the coaching. I've had a great day at St George's Park where I was shown around, fantastic facilities, dressing rooms, everything that a coach, a manager or player could wish to have. But the one question the FA couldn't answer was about the quality of the coaching. Those facilities are no good whatsoever without quality coaches, are they? You better have quality coaches and poor facilities, eh?
Give me one English coach like a Wenger and Guardiola what's fetched new initiatives to our game. One English coach, because I don't see it. And when you're talking about, if you look up down the country, we've got more and more community teams disappearing. Why? There's no money put into the facilities. The FA is spending on millions of pounds on the wrong things. You know, football clubs cannot afford to pay the pitch fees on a Sunday morning and a Saturday morning. You know, the facilities to go into those places, they're not going to want players not going to want to go in and get changed in those dressing rooms. A lot of it's filth. You know, pitches are poor. You know, why can't they do what they've done on the continent? I remember when I was a bit kid going to Spain as a kid, and we would absolutely hammer those kids. You know, going on holiday, we would hammer those kids at football. All the facilities have changed and ours have disintegrated. And we're losing more and more teams through things like that. You know, my local team, Kingsley Boys, can afford, you know, to pay for the facilities, the pitches to be cut, and having to pay them, what is it, £1,000 a year, whatever it is. You know, it's astronomical for them.
So until we invest in this, I mean, you had on Gareth Southgate last night on Radio Sheffield talking about, he made a surprise visit, I think, some new pitches
up at Graves,
in the city.
The new Park Life hub up at Graves,
right,
which looked fantastic, and I would have to say, from a personal point of view, is a step in the right direction. But it is so depressing, as Terry says, when you hear anecdotally, and you hear it more often than you'd think, about teams not just in this part of the world, which probably has a stronger footballing setup than some other areas of the country, but teams folding, and not just for the kids 7, 8, 9, but older 10, 11, 12, and leagues that, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago might have had 4, 5 divisions, now have 1.
And that's going to have an effect, Terry, just following through in terms of the production of the players.
Exactly. Every young footballer throughout from Land's End to John O'Groat, right, comes from a village football team. Go on to play professional football. Whoever they are, they'll have played for their local community. Why ain't FIFA or the FA, our FA, doing anything about it to get the next generation of footballers coming through? I know there's more things to do. We know that. We know young kids now are on PlayStation.
That's all the more reason to invest in it.
Exactly.
Sam Hurd this morning at Chesterfield was talking about the fact that he was signed up to the Leeds United Academy when he was 9 or thereabouts. And because he was signed to the Leeds United Academy, and I dare say this is the way with all kids who are signed to academies, he wasn't allowed to play for his school.
No,
Well, he said that he wasn't.
They are allowed to say they do want to play. I will stick up for the clubs on that. They are allowed to play.
Yeah, they should.
They're not allowed to play Sunday league football, but
Why
they are
not?
allowed to play for the
Why
schools.
not?
Well,
why shouldn't
I
they?
don't know.
It's this silly idea.
I don't
that
run the
when
FA, so I don't
when
know.
they come into academies, that they only then should play against players who are essentially like themselves, rather than playing against kids that could be of all different shapes and sizes, where a player has to think more for themselves rather than essentially doing what they were told. And it boils back down to what we're talking about in the early part of the programme, about creating footballers with personality for all different positions, as opposed to robots. What about confidence? If you're about as good as everybody else in an academy, but like all kids in academies, you've got to be the top 1%. What if you go and play for a Sunday team or a Saturday team? You're going to be the best player because you signed to Leeds United on Wednesday or whoever. Go and score 30 goals if you're a striker. Your confidence will know no bounds. And it's that type of thing, personality less type
That's a good
footballers.
shout. I mean,
It's a great point.
And boys and girls.
We're going to bring James in with the
but just on Andy,
sorry,
Alan, just on that thing. I mean, it's coming now. It's dark. It's winter's coming in. It's cold. It's rain. Where is any facilities in our country to train indoors?
Yeah.
Why don't we have some indoor facilities for our young kids and parents to go along, have a cup of tea, so they're not sat outside? It's like, oh, we're not going to go out. We don't want to train. It's cold. Now they will do it at football academies, but at the lower level they haven't even got any of that. At higher level they have those facilities.
You're only as strong as your weakest link.
And we need to get the adult community, the parents, the shouting fathers away from the idea that it's all about putting 110% in. There's no such thing as 110%.
You'll never stop that.
Shouting.
You'll never stop that.
Yeah.
You'll never stop it. Because on a Sunday morning, you go watch any young team on a Sunday morning, those kids are petrified with the parents shouting at them.
It's because a lot of the parents are sort of living their lives
Drink.
through them. So that if little Johnny's scoring 20, 30 goals a season, well, the parents feel like it's them that's
I
scoring
think you're
them in a way.
absolutely right.
And their
absolutely
kid's
right.
always the best kid.
Yeah. We've got to get away from that, though, because we've got to encourage that kid to take on 2 or 3 players and lose the ball and not get shouted at and try it again the next time. Because we were talking earlier, dribbling's gone out of the game, out of our game.
You don't, very rare you see it now.
You don't see people dribble.
There is.
Wait, do you know what dribbling is, by the way? Some people don't.
There's a lot of clubs now. You've done away with wingers.
Yeah.
They've done away with wingers.
Mind you, you've done that because you wanted to come inside, and so many wingers. Look at Mark Duffy at Sheffield United. He's always been a winger. Now he's inside, just playing behind there, but playing very, very well.
Playing very well.
But I reflect on that, Alan. If they're playing out wide, if we get them to play out wide, and then we convert them to strikers, it's a plus for the clubs, isn't it?
Now it's
start
the fullbacks that provide the width rather than
They do.
wingers.
They absolutely do.
Wingbacks.
But they're not as good at defending.
No, they're not.
No. James, everything else.
Yeah, okay, bit of sports news then in the local area. The Owls, they came away from South Wales last night with a point against Neil Warnock's Cardiff City, 1-1 draw. They play their third game in 6 days, which is, causing all sorts of uproar among supporters. Well, some supporters, the players are going to be tired, all that kind of thing. I think that's nonsense. They play against QPR at Hillsborough on Saturday. We'll see if that is the case. The Blades also recorded their 7th win in 9 games on Tuesdays. Last week's guest from this programme, Billy Sharpie, scored a brace as the Blades beat Shrewsbury 3-0. I like to think it's something to do with the advice that me and Alan gave him in the pub afterwards.
You weren't supposed to say that.
You're
Thursday
right,
night, yeah. He was only drinking orange juice.
He was. You're right, yeah, exactly. Real confidence boost for them ahead of their Yorkshire derby against Bradford City on Saturday. And talking of confidence boost, well, Home FC did one of those last night. They beat Worsborough Bridge 6-0 at Sandygate, and they're going to Saturday's trip to Runcorn looking for their 4th straight win. They've only conceded 1 goal in that little run, the 3rd in the table, with a game in hand as well. Sheffield FC, they're going to Saturday's home clash against Spalding United in buoyant mood as well, following a win on Tuesday night, also 3-0 over Beesford United. And the Sheffield FC ladies, they beat Watford away from home last Sunday. Great run for them. They're unbeaten in 8 games. And this Sunday they play against Sunderland at home at the Coach and Horses ground. It's a friendly game. Get yourselves up there. It'll be about £5 entry, something like that. Good standard. You've been to see them, haven't you?
I have. I was very, very impressed. And in fact, we've got one of the stars of Sheffield FC ladies coming in 2 or 3 weeks.
Brilliant. It'd be great to hear from them because they've actually had a really solid season. Their first season in Women's Super League 2, been a really good year for them. Sheffield Steelers in ice hockey, a double header with 5 this weekend for the Steelers. At home on Saturday and away north of the border on Sunday. Hoping to put last week's, dare I mention it, their defeat to the Cardiff Devils behind them. The DBL Shark Sheffield, or the Sheffield Sharks to me and you, they play away at Glasgow tomorrow night, and Sheffield Tigers' title dreams are hanging on a knife edge. This is Speedway, by the way, after edging a 49-41 win against Glasgow in the first leg of their Premier Division semi-final. They play the return of that next week, and they'll have to fight hard to win that one.
Okay, it's Carla Ward actually, and she's coming in on, she put it in the diary, I forget, was it Thursday? 17th? 17th, November the 17th.
Very good, look forward to
Carla
it.
Ward, stalwart of Sheffield FC ladies. Just before we go on with Terry's hobby horse for the evening, have Rotherham United appointed Kenny Jackett yet?
Not yet. He's the leading candidate at the moment. Talks have taken place. But he's not the sole candidate. I think one or two are getting ahead of themselves.
That'll include me, because I'm firmly expecting Kenny Jackett.
He is the outstanding candidate. But talk that there might be an appointment before the weekend, we have been told, is probably a little bit premature.
Okay,
but we'll see. But not a bad appointment.
Who else? Who else might be in the running?
Well, 1 or 2 names have been mentioned. Stuart Gray, for one. As certainly somebody, a person of interest at Rotherham United. The interview process is probably going on right now as we speak.
What about Steve Evans? Is he not?
No.
Because he was mentioned on the radio, wasn't he?
Well, I can understand why other media outlets and fans have made that link, but
I can't see them working together again, much as the relationship was good.
I dare say Andy's cordial to this day, but I think both have moved on.
Interesting thing was, looking from outside, I've seen Rotherham 2 or 3 times. I can't argue with the decision to sack Stubbs. I can only argue with the decision to appoint him in the first place, and his own, taking on a very risky challenge in English football.
I think a series of set of circumstances have conspired against Rotherham United this summer, so in terms of applying blame, probably a little bit harsh. Did they hang on in the hope that Neil Warnock would return for too long? Yes. They needed him to have made a decision within a couple of days of the end of the season so that they could have a proper and extensive search for a new manager. When that manager was appointed, whether it's Alan Stubbs or anybody else, he should have had longer time to try and get in the types of players that they wanted to get. They hung on for too long in trying to chase Lee Gregory, when for a long time that seemed like not a non-starter, but once Millwall started moving the goalposts, just think, look, hang on and let's walk away. And at the start of the season, you then have to try and integrate loads of players. Rotherham United have been attacked for signing the volume of players that they had. That in itself is a little bit harsh. This is the first year when we haven't had the emergency window. What do you expect them to do? At the same time as trying to have a whole new style of play under a different manager. And there have been signs, haven't there? But ultimately not good enough by a long way. And Kenny Jackett, presumably,
sensible appointment.
has a huge job on his hands.
And
I do hope, Alan, that just, sorry to interrupt, one of the questions that they have asked themselves is, who's the best man to lead us back?
Yeah.
Because that ultimately is the more likely outcome at the moment in time.
Yeah, and he's done that, of course, a couple of times, I think, in his career. So Kenny Jackett ticks most of the boxes: championship experience, good championship experience, and can get promoted.
Yeah.
On that point with Stubbs, though, I get your point about him coming in. Arguably, was he the right man for the job? Choose whoever you give the job to, you've always got to give him a chance. You remember with Carlos when he came to Sheffield, when you asked me, and I said to you, look, let's have a look at him, let's give him that opportunity, let's get behind him and let's see what he can do. England got Fabio Capello, what had won everything there'd ever been to win in the game. Yet he couldn't succeed in England. I always say, if you're going to give, once you give somebody the job, give him the chance. And who knows whether it's going to work. No respect to Rotherham or anyone else, it is difficult when you're trying to keep them type of teams up in that league with all the money what's about.
You can take
and I'm not knocking Rotherham, what I'm trying to say is it is difficult, whoever it is going into that type of job.
The other thing is the idea of giving someone a chance nowadays when within 3 or 4 games a manager is said to be under pressure, and football managers can all say it's unfair and it's harsh and more time is always needed, but ultimately you have to have a team that at the very least starts to show a little bit of promise. Now, Alan Stubbs fairly can point to 1 or 2, well, 3 or 4 performances, particularly at the New York Stadium, where it actually looked as though things might change. He can also perhaps argue that the size of the teams that they've faced over recent weeks, perhaps with the exception, no offence, to Birmingham City, has conspired against them. They wouldn't have beaten Newcastle if they'd have had a good day. Same probably goes for Norwich and Huddersfield too, who were then flying at the time. But having seen the goals back, coupled with the run of form that they were on pretty much from the start of the season against Birmingham at the weekend, on Tuesday night.
I think clubs of that size...
That's forced the decision.
In the Championship, it's a bit like Barnsley for many, many years, and Rotherham. It's okay, they always talk about going long term, but in the end, the imperative is trying to stay there.
Stay up.
Terry, look, we've got 6 minutes left. You're a man with loads of memories, and I'm sure the Owls fans, certainly those of a certain age, are screaming at the TV saying, take him back to Jack's days. Jack's got an autobiography out, actually, written by a journalist I know called Colin Young. I'm sure it's going to be entertaining. You're going to be reading it, aren't you?
I will be reading it, yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I bet you're in it.
Great character is Jack, obviously a fabulous character. And, you know, decorated out throughout the game with obviously his coaching, his success in management and winning things with Leeds United and everything else. But I didn't like the way how we played football in the Jack, you know, the long ball. As a person, absolutely fabulous guy to be in his company, to go out and have a drink with him, you know. But he knows how to get results. You know, he knows, like Sam Allardyce, he knows how to get results.
He did it internationally as well.
Yes.
In a similar way with Ireland.
Well, he did. I mean, he got rid of people like Liam Brady. Now, regardless what anyone says to me, you always need players like that, what's going to unlock the door and win a game for you. You know, when you start to go on to the next level, you've got to have someone what's going to unlock the door who can win a game. So, with Jack, colourful character, right down to earth type of guy. And I remember we would go play down at Exeter. Some guys had spent all the money over the weekend, and Jack would get them on bus. Come on, you come back with us. And we'd be playing cards with us on the bus. Yeah. He said to them, sit on the back and don't get involved in anything, but he'd let them come and play cards. So, great character, fabulous bloke.
He'd be catching cigarettes off him as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he'd be catching cigarettes and things like that.
With Ireland, I always found it sad that there was no place for John Sheridan, one of the finer footballers that Sheffield football's had over the years. Fantastic midfield player, and Jack just wouldn't go for him in his Ireland. Okay, fair enough, because they did very well, Ireland.
But he went the defensive way, as not to try to win, it was to stop teams playing. Yeah. You know, I mean, John, an absolutely fabulous player, John, fantastic football player. You know, and played with some of the, I mean, bought by some of the top managers in the game, Ron Atkinson, Cloughy and things like that. All right, they may have sold him, but that might be for a reason. But going back to what I was saying, Liam Brady, you're not going to get a better player than Liam Brady, and Jack wouldn't even pick Liam Brady. He wanted the up and down type of player, roll your sleeves up, and that's why I still think we are 20 years behind everyone else in football. We've got nobody what can unlock the door for us.
We don't encourage that type of player,
No.
you're saying, from a young age, presumably.
We knock it out of him. I mean, Andy came up with some good points when he was on about the academies. You know, let the quality player go and express himself. Let's have a look for players what are composed on the ball. Again, I keep saying it, but we're looking. If you go into Sunday League football, you'll have 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. The biggest players are playing, booting the ball up the field, no composure on the ball, no work ethic. What I mean by work ethic, not running up and down, into movement. And don't tell me you don't see it, because we've just seen a kid at Celtic, 13-year-old kid at Celtic, play with the under-20s.
Yeah.
His movement is terrific.
He came through the Uden Trophy in Sheffield, actually, from You Are the Ref. The Uden Trophy last summer was a star of that.
Now,
and
if he's the right age, what a player the boy is.
Yeah.
You know, you look at him, and nobody can get the ball off him. You know, and in general, he would be playing for that team on a regular basis. It's only the health and safety people what stop him playing at that age in case he gets injured.
Yeah.
You know, why aren't we producing that player? You know, part of it is we're looking for athletic players, and it's got to stop. We've got people in our game what's not played the football, and personally, I think they've got to start to change the ways of thinking and not be stubborn on it all.
It's interesting because you know, we accept that that the game's quicker and more athletic, so we say the athletic qualities have to be in there in order to play, and that somebody who relies purely on skill, if they haven't got that athleticism, isn't going to be able to impose that skill.
But would you say Messi is an athlete?
Not particularly.
Would you say Xavi's an athlete?
No, not.
So why do we have to keep going on about athletes?
But they have to be exceptional. In order not to be an athlete, you'd have to be absolutely exceptional for your talent to show.
What they've improved in this game.
And Messi is exceptional.
What they've improved in this game, and that's the continental managers coming into it and coaches, is the nutrition side of it. When I was playing, people were going out drinking. I've been
surprise.
I've played down at Ipswich in Derby County, and I wasn't a really drinker at the time. So you know, but I've seen it all. Friday night, 4 or 5 lads pissed up. Yeah, we still went out and go and win. You know what I mean?
Just
now,
apologies.
I apologise for that.
Well, no,
being drunk, but
I know.
like,
we know what you mean.
Now, what I'm trying to say.
What
I'm trying to say is, we're not producing the quality player because we're looking for an athlete. There is plenty of little players out there if we give them that chance. Billy Bremner, Johnny Giles at Leeds United, no bigger than Xavi and Iniesta, absolutely fabulous footballers. You look at all the players we're looking for as athletes. We have to stop this athletic bit. You can teach a footballer to be fitter, but you'll never teach an athlete to be a footballer.
But you can't go uninvent athleticism in a sport, can you?
It's
you can't
football.
uninvent. You can't take it out.
It's football. It's not athletics.
But you need
It's
to be
football.
an athlete to be a footballer.
You need to have.
As a basis.
You need
and add the skill.
You need technicality, a strategy, understanding of the game,
And you're talking about where the emphasis should be, and that's where we agree.
and balance. And we're not getting that.
And that's where we agree. And we've got 20 seconds left. It's been brilliant. I feel exhausted, actually. Listening to Terry's been fantastic company. Thank you to James for being patient enough to sit there and listen.
Oh, no, it's been great. I've been gripped. Thanks,
And to Andy Giddings. Andy, you've got more words in than I expected you to. And so did I as well. And thank you to Terry. Thank you to you. On my YouTube channel later, repeat at 11. See you next week. Bye. Bye.
None of us are always right.